lie there in that old curiosity shop.
Well, hi everyone, this is Scott from the Old Curiosity Shop, and as promised, it's time for an all 1920s, 30s, and 40s thrift haul. Except, well, I'm kind of being sneaky. If you look on the counter, why did I say there? There are a couple of things that are actually not from any of those decades, but they are related. Now, can you spot it? I'll tell you in a minute, but look very carefully. There's something here that's not from the 20s, 30s, or 40s. Did you spot it? I'll tell you in a second. In the meantime, let's zoom in and see what we've got. Now, everything here came from thrift stores, no estate sales, flea markets, and one rummage sale. Here is a bunch of green depression glass. Some of it I was able to identify and some of it I wasn't. So I'll quickly tell you what's here. And all of the green depression glass that I'm going to show you right now came in one lot. It looks like somebody just collected it and they just threw it all in a box. There are no chips on any of it, so they didn't throw it. But they weren't asking much for it. I think it was like maybe 10 bucks for all of these pieces. So I'll tell you what I have. This is an unidentified luncheon plate. If I did a little more digging, I could probably find that pattern. But just a quick look through the books, I wasn't able to figure out what that was. So anyway, now this one here, this big platter is called roulette or roulette, and this is made by Anchor Hocking from 1936 to 1937. It's a serving platter, and it's in great shape. That should sell for about 10 bucks or so. Now, this is Anchor Hocking because by the late 30s it became Anchor Hocking. In 1930, it was Hocking Glass Company, and this is made by Hocking Glass Company between 1930 and 1934. This pattern is called Cameo. It's again a sandwich plate or serving plate, and it's known for, and let me see if you can see her. You see the dancing ballerina right up there? She's got one leg in the air and her two arms up in the sky. She's dancing, little dancing girl. And this is called Cameo. It's green depression glass, and there are no chips on that either. Then from Hazel Atlas we have some Colonial Block. This is a Colonial Block, pretty heavy Hazel Atlas stem, which could be for wine, I suppose. And I think that'll sell for about 10 bucks or so. There's a little butter lid, and I think that's Colonial Block as well. And then I wasn't certain, I think this is Petal, or there's another name for this, and it's escaping me right now, so pardon me, but I can't remember. This one I couldn't identify at all. I love it. It's really deco, but I couldn't really find it anywhere. I'm not sure what the pattern is there, but I like that one as well. Okay, so all of that, as I said, all came together, and $10 for all of it, and by the time I piece it all out, there should be 40 to 50 bucks worth of green depression glass there. All right, so back here is, let me see, 3 plates, and I bought these plates at a, these were $1 each. They're grill plates. I don't know who made them. I can't tell, but they're one of those companies from the 1920s and 30s. Could be Hocking glass, who knows. And these 3 rather small dinner plates probably sell the 3 for about $15. Some people like grill plates and some people don't. You've already seen me talk about the sandwich glass by Anchor Hocking in Forest Green. I did get the cup and saucer, and I went back and got the other teacup, so I should be able to sell that for about $20 to $25. It's a pretty popular pattern. All right, that's it for the depression glass here in the front. Back here I bought for myself, and I paid $5 for this, and I was thrilled to get it. It's a circa 1930 Christmas tin, and look at how great that condition is. It definitely dates to about 1930. It's a little on the deco side with the concentric circles coming off of the candlelight. I love the colors and the graphic on the front. It's in really, as I said, really super shape for a tin that old. And this I'm keeping. I'm gonna put that away for, excuse me, for Christmas time. Let's keep going here. In the front is a 1930s Dresser Trinket Box. Again, I don't know the maker. It's pink depression glass with a fired on applied color to the outside. And it could have had powder in it with a powder puff, I guess that's what you call it. Or it could have just been to keep rings and jewelry and other trinkets on a woman's dresser. And I sell these things. That's not a crack there, that's just a mold mark. There wasn't a lot of filing down of mold marks on glass like this because it was mass produced. There are no chips on that. That was $1. I hope to sell it for about 12. Here are 2, I think they're Fenton, but I'm not certain. I picked these up for about $3. No, were they $3 each? They were $2 each. I found them both together. They're little carnival glass baskets. They do date to between that early period of, 1918 into the 1920s. Believe it or not, there are no chips anywhere on all these intricate little spots. And these are small, so I guess they're little candy dishes. Again, this kind of thing doesn't have the value that it used to. They're really pretty, but they're probably only worth 20 bucks for the 2 of them. So those I might hold on to. In the front, I bought 3 old pocket watches from the 1920s. That one's very deco. These 2 are a little earlier, probably 1910, 1912. They don't work. I paid $5 for all 3 of them. I'm not sure what I'm going to do with them yet. Broken pocket watches don't really have a lot of value. So again, I'm not sure what I'm going to do with these, but I couldn't pass them by for $5 for the 3 of them. I really like them. I also like old light bulbs. And this is an original 1920s Edison Mazda with the point on the top. And that kind of thing really lights me up. Ha. Back here is a ice cream scoop. This is a Gilbert number can you see that? Number 31. And this probably dates to the 1920s as well. It's in great shape. Some of these ice cream scoops have quite a lot of value. I don't know what this one has, how much value this has, but I would guess about $15 to $20 maybe. It's really nice. I might keep it because I don't have an ice cream scoop. Not like that anyway. Excuse me. I don't know what I'm going to do with this, but I had to buy it because I love Fry glass. And this is made by Fry, and I'm going to try to get to where you can actually see it without dropping it. It's marked. This is going to be tough. All right, let's get right up in there. There we go. Fry heat resisting glass, patented. And it's in this really cool opalescent. You know, this plate weighs 2 pounds. Which is probably why it didn't catch on. This is a heavy plate. It's a grill plate. I like the sort of moonstone, that's what Anchor Hocking called it, the opalescent effect to it. You do find these grill plates, but not with this applied decoration. That's unusual to see that applied blue. The plate is probably worth about $10. I paid $1 for it. I just like it, and it's the first time I've ever bought a piece of Fry glass. They made a lot of glass just after the turn of the century, and a lot of kitchen glass that's in that really cool opalescent style. If you saw my last thrift haul, you saw me pick up this Chase copper napkin holder from the 1930s. Chase was a company in, I think they were in Brooklyn, if I remember correctly, and they made metalware, copperware, and chrome. They popularized it. This is a napkin holder. You'll put your napkins in there, and then the little weight sits on top of the napkins. This is really cool. It's a little dusty. The Chase mark. Chase is not always marked, but sometimes it is. And it's right there. I don't know if we'll focus. Of course not. It doesn't want to focus. But anyway, take my word for it, it's Chase. Chase had a lot of really good designers working for them. And so this would have been called modern. Art Deco wasn't a term that was... Art Deco was coined in the 1960s, but in the 30s when this stuff was made, it was called modern. That looks like a Bakelite handle, but it's not. And in another video, I'll show you how to tell the difference between... Well, I'll show you how to tell whether something is Bakelite or not. We won't get into that now. But this is really great, and that's probably a $20 item there, maybe a little bit more. Excuse me. The old timers, which is me, will recognize iris and herringbone, and I'm laughing about that because there was, back in the 80s when I was first going to auctions and things, you know, people, as I've said before, they just went nuts over this. Now you can barely give it away. And I think it was Gene Florence who put this on the cover of one of his early Depression glass books, if I remember correctly. It's kind of like in the 90s when Martha Stewart was decorating her sets with that stuff, and all of a sudden everybody had to have it. So this was an extremely well-known pattern and highly collected in the 1980s. I never buy it, but here it is, I bought it. Why? Well, I bought these because these are much harder to find. These are very small, little tiny, not demi-tasse cups, but almost like cordial glasses or little tiny juice glass stems. And so I should be able to sell the 3 of those for about $15. And I'd never actually seen those in the wild before. Iris and herringbone, made by Jeanette, all through the 1930s. And it was enormously popular. I need some help, anybody who knows vintage clothing. I know it's from the 20s. It's a drawstring purse. I paid $1 for it. This looks like an eyeglass case. It's just an applied decoration on there. But this has no tag on it. It's I guess that's called crushed velvet. And it's hard for me to do this with one hand, but see the inside. It does have also a velvet base. There's the original drawstring on it. And I'm fairly certain that this dates to the 1920s 1920's. It's in great condition. There are no holes on it. Just a little bit of wear. And so I guess it was for a woman when she went out in the evening. She could pull the drawstring and put her lipstick and cigarettes in there if she was a flapper. Here is from the 1920s, a set of headphones, which will sell for about $20. Early radios didn't have loudspeakers. You had to listen to them, especially the old crystal sets, through heavy, bulky headsets like this. And this is an actual Murdoch radio. Can you see it? Yeah, Murdoch radio pair of headsets. These are heavy. They work very well. They still work. I've bought and sold probably 50 of these over the years. And the early radio collectors love them. That set of tumblers right there, there are 8 of them. They're not marked. They're giving me more of a 1940s feel than a 1950s because of sort of the swanky swig size and also the decoration. So I'm going to say that they probably date to the 40s, and they were probably part of a... They might have had a carrier with them. They're in great shape. I didn't pay much for them. It was less than $1 each. And it's a pretty pattern. I don't know much about flowers, so it just looks like a mixture of flowers there. And they'll sell for 20 bucks or so. I bought this box right here for $1, and it is full of... Can you tell what those are? Oops. Your great-grandmother would know. Depending how old you are, your grandmother might know. Those are the buttons for your shoes. When the big lace-up shoes didn't have grommets, you would lace your high lace shoes through these hooks. And this was $1, so I figure some vintage clothing person or old shoe person would love to have those. So I'll be selling those as well. That is a well, let's talk about Will George over here. I almost had a fit. I was at a flea market, and they had all this torn up, rickety furniture, and I opened up an old washstand, and when I did, these two were kind of just rolling around in there. There was no newspaper on them or anything, and I went, ah! I knew what it was immediately. This is Will George. These are, excuse me, Will George flamingos. And let me tell you a little bit about them. It says Will George. Will and George Climbs were brothers in California. They started making pottery in about 1934 in LA. They later moved to Pasadena. And you remember Charlie McCarthy from the radio days with Edgar Bergen? Well, Edgar Bergen was a big fan of this pottery, and he backed them. So he was a big supporter of them, and they were able to expand. They started making pottery, as I said, in 1934, and they made these flamingos in the 30s and 40s. This guy right here is worth about $50 to $60, and that's what he sells for online. I can't believe, as delicate as he is, there's not a chip, a crack, there's no crazing. Can you imagine how easy it would be for that neck to snap? He's fantastic. And his friend over here is also fantastic. Now this one is unmarked because it's a much smaller base. But I'll be selling the two of those together, and I expect to get about $70 to $80 for the pair, maybe more. If you ever find one of these and you turn it upside down and it says Will George, Pasadena, I believe that's right. He made several of these for the opening of the Flamingo Hotel in LA, and they were given away to guests, and those sell for well over $1,000 if you ever find one. So I was thrilled to get those, and they were free. They were free because I bought about $10 worth of stuff from the guy, and he said, you can have the flamingos. I was excited. This is an unmarked piece of 1930s or 40s pottery. I love this green. I love Art Deco pottery. No idea who made it. Doesn't really matter to me. I'm probably going to keep that and stick that with a couple other pieces of green Art Deco pottery because I like that. Back there is a great big Hull vase. Hull, H-U-L-L. This is the Magnolia pattern from 1946 about to 1948. It's a tall vase. There's no chips or cracks on it. I paid $4 for it. 20 years ago, it would have sold for about 80 bucks. Today, I can probably get maybe 30. Oops. I'll let you see. Well, it's upside down, and I'm not going to turn it because I'm not. But you can see Hall right there. This is just another kind of art pottery that has really suffered price-wise. It has come down, but I couldn't pass it by, so I had to pick it up. You might recognize these back here. I just sold 10 of these in the big wine stems. This is the Fostoria Virginia pattern from the early 20s. I sold 10 stems and then went out and found 8 sherbets, but the lady that bought the stems didn't want the sherbet cups, so I've got them. The big stems, the 8 stems sold for 100 bucks. I'm not sure what I'll be able to get for the sherbet glasses. From the 1920s is a Easter egg made in Germany, as a lot of the decorations were. This is a nice lithographed candy container. Is that the Star Spangled Banner? I think so. Anyway, this is from, as I said, right around the mid-20s. It's an Easter candy container. I don't have too many vintage Easter decorations, so I might just keep this because it's hard to find old Easter decorations. So let's move you back here. That's in really good shape. All right, you guessed it. What is not from the 1940s? The jadeite stuff that you see right back there. That is made by Anchor Hocking, but it was made in the year 2000. Now, around 2000, when, thanks to Martha Stewart and others, jadeite became extremely popular. Everybody wanted it. Prices were going way up. The Anchor Hocking company realized it, and they released brand new jadeite. Now, these are forms that were not made in the 1930s. They didn't make a covered casserole dish. They didn't make pie dishes or baking dishes in jadeite. So you can't call these reproductions because they were all new in the year 2000. I will pick one of them up so you can see. It is actual Fire King. We can see right here Fire King and Anchor Hocking, but you'll also see 2000. You see that right there? I know this is hard because this isn't focusing today. Anchor Hocking Fire King 2000. So all of these pieces right here, you cannot find them again, as I said, in the old because they didn't make it. These will sell for about $150 to $200, believe it or not, for 1, 2, 3, 4, for the 5 pieces. The covered casserole, there are 2 pie dishes here and then 2 baking dishes. I think it was sold either through Cracker Barrel or Restoration Hardware or Kmart or something. Anyway, you can go online and read about it. They were also going to produce some other jadeite, but because of some kind of production problems, they scratched it. But those are the pieces, and yes, the 2000 jadeite by Anchor Hocking does sell for that much. $150 to about $200 for all of that. And I bought those from someone who sold the whole lot to me for, I think I paid 20 bucks for all of it. So that was a good deal. All right, so let's put this back. Let's get this out of the way. I'm going to move back and let you see everything again. That's it right there from the 1920s, 30s, 40's. I hope you enjoyed it. Have a great weekend, everyone. If you haven't subscribed, go ahead and hit the subscribe button. Leave me a comment if you'd like to. And click the bell so you'll know every time I produce a new video. This is Scott from the Old Curiosity Shop on eBay saying thanks for watching and so long for now.